I want all of you to look really deep into your mind and think of a time when you needed your words, but they were tossed away, as if they were nothing more than the rough draft of an essay paper that didn't make the cut. Has that ever happened to you? Hello, my name is Mikhaila Tumarkin. I am a 16-year-old girl, and I have to be fully honest with all of you. I would not be where I am today had I not stood up for myself, over and over again. And in times like that, you need to ask yourself, how will others believe me if I can't even do that? Have you guys ever watched a doctor show? Grey's Anatomy, House MD, ER, anything like that? In all of these shows, there's at least 1 or 2 episodes where there's a character with a mystery illness. And as you guys know, each time, they're sent away, they're dismissed. But every single time, they come back, and they speak for themselves. And in the end, their outcome is better. And these stories reflect real people, real patients that have had this issue. And each time, their voices grew stronger, the louder that they yelled to be heard. Next, there's a play called The Laramie Project, where in Laramie, Wyoming, sometime in the 1990s, I believe, a young boy named Matthew Shepard was murdered for his sexuality. And I want to talk about a Nigerian author who spoke in a TED Talk of the dangers of a single story. And a single story can affect the views on a whole entire person, a whole entire community. It is dangerous. And self-advocacy runs in every human story. And when you advocate for yourself, you break the stigma. You eradicate the cycle of assumptions and stereotypes. And each time that you speak up for yourself, you speak up for people like you. You save yourself, and you promise yourself a future. Let's go a little bit more personal. It was very cute in these photos, right? From the time when I was very young, I knew that something was off. But each time that I tried to say something, I was met with the word puberty. Now, yes, I was a growing child, but how is it that every single time my stomach hurt so much because I had not listened to my parents? One small piece of candy, how was that a result of hormones, right? It wasn't. And I remember being unable to function, unable to focus. I had sleepless nights because of all of the information that my mind was running off of. And it was exhausting sometimes. I constantly had a pit in my stomach. I constantly felt like I was going to puke. And eventually, I had enough. I contacted my aunt, who's a psychologist, and she helped me out. And that's when my story started. That's when I was able to start fighting the battle that I had been losing my whole entire life. And from then on, I was described as a poster child. I remember in grade 8 being called into my guidance counselor's office because there was a young boy who was just like me, and he needed support. And right then and there, I realized that I spoke for myself in such a way that now I was able to help others find their voice. And as a child, for a very big portion of my life, I was bullied. I was considered the weird kid. I was silent, I was alone, and nobody ever believed me, right? When I tried to say something, I was told, just disengage from it. Nobody took my word. I was young. Maybe I was just interpreting it way too strongly. But at some point, I spoke for myself. And people started to believe me. People understood. They heard me. And they were brought to light. And look, at the same time, with my culture, I'm a Jewish girl. I have had my fair share of discrimination in my life, I have to say. And I was taught from a young age to, let people say what they wanted to say and face the repercussions of it. But have you ever heard of the bystander effect? Each time that you decide to say to yourself, somebody else will do it, that chance of action gets slimmer. And on top of that, nobody can read your mind. Nobody can see into you. You can't depend on others to understand what is going on with you internally if you won't say anything. And from your race to your sexuality to absolutely anything that is going on, you need to be able to speak for yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. And Maya Angelou once said, I learned a long time ago that the wisest thing I can do is be on my own side. Be an advocate for myself and others like me. Thank you.